And that kind of gives us a good segue into our main topic of today, Yuri Bezmenov.
Oh yes.
So, Yuri, Russian KGB agent, ended up, what do you call it?
Defecting to the
Defecting.
U.S. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, he defected to Canada, and then obviously what he had to say was extremely important, and he
Oh, he
began
defected
to.
to Canada.
Yeah, he defected to Canada,
All right, I
and
gotta
then.
go. I gotta go.
And then, what he had to say was so important, then that he began to get a lot of speaking gigs in the U.S.
Now, is this part?
Born
So
in.
this is okay. So when you okay, I definitely watched a different one.
Okay. Well, what I would just say to you and our viewers is there is no higher quality than 240p for this video. It is pretty poor quality, but the sound is fine.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
dude, I'm gonna have to pause. I have just had a doorbell.
Gotcha.
Let me come back.
You're good.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good, man.
Had to duck out of that one to avoid a long chat with the postie. So, yeah, where were we? So yeah, obviously he lived under a few different names, Thomas Schumann being one of them, and lived from 1939 to around 1993 when he died of a sort of mysterious and massive heart attack.
Okay.
So yeah, let's see what he had to say, shall we?
Let's do it.
That matter usually is explained as a part of activity to destroy things like religion, government system, political, economical system of the country. And usually it's linked to espionage and such romantic things as blowing up bridges, sidetracking trains, cloak and dagger activity in Hollywood style. What I'm going to talk about now has absolutely nothing to do with the cliche of espionage or KGB activity of collecting information.
This is actually
mistake.
I really like about Yuri. At least the things I've seen of him, because I'm not like an expert or anything, but I like how he deconstructs kind of like this almost propagandist fantasy of what like espionage and subversion is, when he's like, no. It's not, it has nothing to do with any of this stuff. It's actually way creepier, and it's really way more low key.
And way more effective.
Well, exactly.
Misconception, I think, is that whenever we are talking about KGB, for some strange reason, starting from Hollywood movie makers to professors of political science and quote-unquote experts on Soviet affairs, or Kremlinologists as they call themselves, they think that the most desirable thing for Andropov and the whole KGB is to steal blueprints of some supersonic jet, bring it back to Soviet Union, and sell it to the Soviet military-industrial complex. This is only partly true. If we take the whole time, money, and manpower that the Soviet Union and KGB in particular spends outside of USSR border, we will discover, of course, there are no official statistics, unlike with CIA or FBI, that the espionage as such occupies only 10 to 15% of money, time, and manpower. 15% of the activity of KGB. The rest, 85%, is always subversion.
And I'll just quickly say on this, I think what people should, because I know that some people think, well, the Soviet Union collapsed years ago in 91 or whenever it was, 89. What does this have to do with now? And what he actually goes on to say in another interview, he says, and in the future, anybody that is linked to the sort of communist regime is likely to use the same tactics and strategies.
But that's the whole thing. It's the same methods, the same methodology that's being used, and because it becomes larger than Russia. It becomes larger
Yeah.
than that apparatus and that form of communism or whatever, because people take things and they run with it, and then they
Yeah.
create their own ideological framework based on something, like based on the foundation of this stuff. But it's like Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. It's obviously very clearly influenced by these kinds of tactics. If people want to go check that out, it's not a very long book, and it's worth checking out if you want to like think about the ways in which modern social constructionism has kind of taken hold of things. It's the roadmap, and you see it reflected. That's what's so eerie about listening to somebody like Yuri or Ayn Rand. If you go watch her Mike Wallace interview from the 50s, how prescient it is, how they nailed it. Maybe they jumped the gun a little bit in the sense of like it didn't happen as fast as maybe they thought it would, but it is happening. Now we actually live in a time where you can observe it, you can see it. You're not even hiding it anymore, dude. They don't even fucking hide it anymore. Now it's seen as a virtue to subvert you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna make that into a t-shirt.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's a bumper sticker. Yeah, I think like anybody that watches this thing through anybody that I know that has watched this through has just been like, just mind blown.
Yeah.
Because they literally just list out one by one everything that's been causing social issues and dividing people in the West. Sorry, I should press play.
And unlike a dictionary of English, Oxford Dictionary, subversion in Soviet terminology means always a destructive, aggressive activity aimed to destroy the country, nation, or geographical area of your enemy. So there's no romantics in there, absolutely. No blowing up bridges, no microfilms in Coca-Cola cans, nothing of that sort. No James Bond nonsense. It's most of this activity is overt, legitimate.
This is the only thing he was wrong about. Everything in James Bond is not nonsense.
But you know, it's interesting because
completely legit.
He's talking about like the destructive nature of subversion and how it was used by the Russians, their conceptualization of it. What we have now in the modern era, and it started back then, which maybe he wasn't as maybe savvy to, is the concept of postmodernism.
Yeah,
it's inherently subversive, and it's about deconstruction. It's about breaking everything down until it doesn't mean anything. Nothing means anything.
Yeah, and then start from year zero.
And easily observable if you give yourself time and trouble to observe it. But according to the law and law enforcement systems of the Western civilization, it's not a crime. Exactly because of misconception, manipulation of terms. We think that subverter is a person who is going to blow up our beautiful bridges. No, subverter is a student who comes for exchange, a diplomat, an actor, an artist, a journalist like myself was 10 years ago. Now, subversion is an activity which is a two-way traffic. You cannot subvert an enemy which doesn't want to be subverted. If you know history of Japan, for example, before 20th century, Japan was a closed society. The moment a foreign boat comes to the shores of Japan, the Imperial Japanese Army politely tells them to get lost. And if American salesman comes to the shore of Japan, let's say 60 or 70 years from now back, and says, oh, I have a very beautiful vacuum cleaner for you, with the good financing, he says, please leave us, we don't need your vacuum cleaner. If they don't leave, they shoot them to preserve their culture, ideology, traditions, values intact. Mm-hmm. You were not able to subvert Japan. You cannot subvert Soviet Union because the borders are closed. The media is censored by the government. The population is controlled by the KGB and internal police. With all the beautiful glossy pictures of Time magazine and Magazine America, which is published by the American embassy in Moscow, you cannot subvert Soviet citizens because the magazine never reaches Soviet citizens. It's collected from the newsstands and thrown to garbage can. Subversion can be only successful when the initiator, the actor, the agent of subversion has a responsive target. It's a two-way traffic. United States is a receptive target of subversion.
And I would say that that's one of the key things in this that he's talking about is that two-way traffic thing. Because one of the things that makes the West great is also its biggest weakness.
It's our biggest downfall because we have a hard time maintaining a consistent culture, a consistent ideology because we are so open.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, we literally, the Western world is constructed and exists in a way as a stance against this kind of behavior, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think maybe we're starting to see some of the downsides of that a little bit now that now we've been on a long enough timeline of that stuff. Which is what always is very disturbing about just people that are just like rampant open border policy stuff. Like, you have no right to sovereignty, you have no right to a national identity, which is basically, I mean, this is what he's talking about. That's what's taught. That's what's been being laundered in academia for 50 years. And only now is it starting to trickle down into like high school. Before, it used to just be college educated people. You'd go to a university, whatever. That's where
or
you'd
higher,
be,
even higher, like
or
higher
higher.
up than just college.
Yeah, but that's where you would be come into contact with those kinds of ideas and those kinds of things. And they always kind of frame them unfairly about, especially because, a lot of the Western world, like we're superpowers, where we have a huge standing and stake in global affairs in general. And we're told, like, if anything bad happens, or if your country were to ever do anything bad, then you must personally wear that shame and guilt with you forever, rather than being able to, which is completely contrary to the concept of most Western countries, which is like there is a strand of individualism. You're not actually responsible for it, and in fact, you could be an agent for change. But
it's crazy in this country. I live near Cambridge, and Cambridge University has been the birthplace of many double agents, because they go there to try and recruit them to MI5, MI6, and so when I say leftist, I don't mean in the sort of the current cultural almost slur of leftist, but
yeah,
your original almost French Revolution term of leftist. They would go there to try and recruit them as well. And so, we had some of the longest ever standing spies that had come out of Cambridge. So, something like, I don't know, they were recruited in the 50s and they were arrested in like 2001. They're like nuclear bombs. A lot of people don't know this, but the UK was something like, or Britain, something like 3 months away from testing a nuclear bomb in 1942. Like 3 years before it actually happened. But there was a girl, there was a girl physicist working on the team, and this Soviet spy managed to kind of worm his way. She had left-leaning politics. She
yeah,
kind of she thought that she was a big fan of sort of socialism and also communism. And this guy actually made it so he sort of wormed his way into her life to the point where they eventually found out. And that was actually part of the reason why they handed it all over to the Americans, because the Americans said, we can't trust you. Like, because the amount of people that are getting subverted at your universities, it's not safe to have a weapon that and I get it, like some people will be like, this because the Americans just wanted the nuke. But, if you're talking about a weapon that powerful, I can understand them being worried about.
Yeah, but now we have in the United States, we also have that problem.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, no, we
And
do, because now, like, China is a huge fucking force in the United States.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
And like, you even saw it in our media, like, because the Winter Games are going on right now, the Olympics are going on, where Xi Jinping had a Uyghur
light the flame,
light the torch, and our American media reported on it. This is like a bold statement against like some of the more like the intense right-wing smears of China, and you're like, what the fuck?
The right-wing smears of concentration camps.
Yes, well, it was like, this is a bold statement. It was like one of the most disgusting fucking bootlicking, and that's, why? Because I think it was an NBC anchor who actually said this. Universal, who owns NBC, is partners with a lot of the Chinese government, and they get a lot of money from China, and it's all infected. And then we see in universities, I think in Harvard University, even just a few years ago, some professors getting outed as basically being
Yeah, paid.
double agents or, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish